Let's talk about stress and your adrenals and whether or not you have adrenal fatigue or adrenal insufficiency, that type of a thing. Now, first off, let me just address this overall phrasing of adrenal fatigue. There's some people who are like, that doesn't exist, blah, blah, blah. And then they call it something like HPA axis dysfunction. We're all really talking about the same thing. I want you to realize that. It's just a different governing body decided to disclaim a certain, alternative health group that says this is a thing, and they're like, oh no, that's not a thing. But then when presented with data and research and everything else in labs, they're like, oh, well, it's this HPA axis dysfunction. We're really talking about the same thing here. Stop splitting hairs on what you call it, right? Most people are familiar with it being called adrenal fatigue or adrenal insufficiency. Essentially, your adrenals are not functioning like they should, right? Like they could. They are not totally crapped out. You don't have something like Cushing's or anything like that, or Graves, or, not Graves. You don't have a major disease, I should say, because of this. But your body is not functioning the way that it should. And the most common question that I get related to this is, how did it get like this? So that's what we're going to talk about. I am Dr. Beth Westie, women's health and hormone expert and functional medicine practitioner. I'm author of the books The Female Fat Solution and The Female Menopause Solution. These are on Amazon, where you can pick them up, dive into more about how to eat for your hormones and your cycle. I'm also host of the podcast The Female Health Solution. You can subscribe to that, as well as subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on social media to stay updated on all the things I have coming out. Now, when we talk about how to detect if I have an adrenal issue, my favorite way to do this is with a Dutch test. Right? Dutch testing shows us exactly what your metabolized cortisol is doing, what your free cortisol is doing. It takes markers throughout the day of what your cortisol response is. This is one of the most accurate, thorough, in-depth ways to look at your body without guessing, without, saying, oh, well, maybe it's doing this, or, I went in and in the middle of the day, I had an appointment and they took a saliva test and they said my cortisol was fine. Okay, yeah, you might have had that one point during the day where it was okay. But again, one, realize that sometimes their normal ranges are huge. And two, if you're not seeing what your cortisols are doing in the morning as well as at night, you're not really getting a full picture of what's happening within your system. So that is why it is vital that you look at an entire pattern, a 24-hour cortisol, measurement, as well as looking at your metabolized cortisol, which is your adrenal function. Those are the two best ways to do that. To learn more about that, go below this video, click the link there, learn how you can get a Dutch test sent right to your house, take the test, upload, you get the results sent to you, and then we go over them to make sure you understand what's going on and the next best steps for you moving forward. So, adrenal fatigue, adrenal insufficiency, again, potato, potato. But when we're looking at this, the first thing to look at is your normal stress response. Your normal stress response, how well are you handling stress? Your stress response has to do with the sheer amount of stress you've been under, how long you've been under that stress, how nourished you are, how hydrated you are, how well your quality of sleep is. If you are not getting good quality sleep, your stress response is going to be lower, right? Some people have watches that track their heart rate variability and all these other things. In fact, watches track these things and say, oh, if you're planning to run 10 miles tomorrow, but you've gotten crap sleep for 2 days, they don't recommend that you do that. Your watch wouldn't recommend something like that. It would say, oh, make sure you're getting more quality sleep, and then you could train harder. That's your stress response overall. So if you've done crash diet after crash diet, tried to do all these crazy things to lose weight, not gotten any result of it, and you're not feeling like you have good energy, your stress response is not going to be good. That's setting you up, right? So here's clinically what I see is that women will have done, diet after diet over the course of years, right? I want you to think about the last 10 years of your life. How many diets have you done? How many times have you depleted things? How many times have you been under a lot of stress with work or with family or friends or something? How many times have you moved? How many times have you had a job change? Birth, death, marriage, divorce, moving, job change, pandemic, all these things are major life stressors, right? And then those are the life events that happen. So it's not that you can prevent these life events. And some of these life events are actually a really positive thing, or sometimes a good thing that you want to have shift and change in your life. But if you have a major life event happen and your stress response is not good, it can knock you down and out. And then also, if you have major life events happen in a short amount of time, not letting your body recover or get back to a normal homeostasis, that's where that adrenal level will start to suffer. So what I hear from a lot of women is something like this. Oh yeah, I was doing really well and I was training for a bike race and I was, eating healthy and everything was fine, blah, blah, blah. Then all of a sudden I got transferred to a different office. I had to move 3 states away. Then one of my parent got sick and I had to travel back and forth. And then my parent died 3 months later. And then after that, 3 months after that, I got transferred again with my company, or I went through a breakup or something like that. It's within a short amount of time, 6 months or even a year, that you have these major life events happen. And you just keep going on with life. And you keep going on at the same pace. And you keep doing the restrictive things and everything else that lowers your overall stress response. Again, it's not your fault that these things happen. It's just sometimes you just keep moving forward thinking, it's fine, I can make it through this. Yes, because your body's in a survival mode. But if you keep pushing and going 100 miles an hour while your body's in a survival mode, at some point your body says, nope, we're done, totally done, checking out, and then you have these adrenal issues. And so you have to look back to the previous 3 to 5 years. And then some people use a formula saying like, oh, for every year that you've had adrenal issues, it takes 3 months to repair. That's kind of a general statement. But you will notice that the more time you give yourself to have proper repair and get your body just to function better, then you really do start feeling better. Then all the things that you're doing, health-wise, training-wise, nutrition-wise, start to really work in your body because you're allowing that process to happen. So that's a little quick snippet on adrenal insufficiency, where it can come from. Again, a lot of different places, but if you have any more questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. But again, go below this video, click that link, learn more about the Dutch test and what you can see on it and how it can really help you identify the exact issues that you might be struggling with.